Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Hey there, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast, the #1 industrial-related podcast in the universe. Thank you very much for joining this podcast. This platform, as you know, is dedicated to you, the industrial professionals, the companies that get it done. You're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, and man, you're changing the world, and you are changing lives through your continuous focus on innovation. We thank you, we celebrate you, and boy, it is an honor that you have joined. I have really appreciated it, definitely. Now, we're going to continue our conversation in Heroes of Manufacturing, and we got a real barn burner this time around, as we always do. I mean, why do I even say that? His name is Randy Day. Easy to spell, easy to read. He is the Senior Vice President of Operations at a company called Smuckers Company. You know them. Absolutely you do. I'm telling you, great conversation. Big heart, that company. Big heart. Let's get going. Big heart. Okay, so we've been doing these podcasts and videos specifically to celebrate the heroes of manufacturing because of the dedication, because of their continuous desire to make our lives better. These people are focused, and we need them each and every day in our lives. And in our conversation with Randy, he makes a point of that, and that's a great thing. And what I'm always amazed about, and I've been harping on this, is that companies, especially now, you know, with the pandemic and the situation out there, we need to collaborate more, not just internally, but externally. Randy talks about their efforts to collaborate with just internal people as well as external people. They innovate. They're constantly innovating to try to continue to bring products to market that we like and consume. They educate because we've never been through any of this before. They're focused on education. And you know what? They're not frightened to move forward. That's the culture at Smuckers. They are constantly moving forward, and they have just a beautiful, beautiful culture from the top down. The people in the field, the ones that just, contribute so much, that's what they're all about. And you're saying to yourself, Scott, once again, I want to get involved. You need to go out to heroesofmanufacturing.com. That's heroesofmanufacturing.com. Click on I want to get involved, and you'll be talking to me, and I would be really honored to have that conversation. And if you're saying to yourself, Scott, I want to nominate, I'm in manufacturing, and I want to nominate some people, I want to be involved, nominate. And we'll have that conversation, and we will get that individual, that company, represented on the Industrial Talk Podcast, as well as the Heroes of Manufacturing movement, which you got to jump aboard the train and ride this baby out, because it is an important movement to be a part of. If you're in manufacturing, if you're in industry, we need to celebrate these women and men of manufacturing. Do not delay. Do not. Please do not. All right, let's get with the interview. His name is Randy Day. He's a Senior Vice President of Operations at the Smuckers company. Amazing. We go to the same barber and everything. Fantastic, fantastic interview. And what an honor to have him represent the wonderful people at Smuckers. Absolute honor. So enjoy the interview, because he is an incredible individual. Hey, Randy, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. Absolute honor to have you on board representing the team Smuckers in the Heroes of Manufacturing segment of our conversation. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
I'm telling you, man, I'm after all these interviews with Northeast Ohio people, that is on my bucket list. I know you want to come on down here to Louisiana and do that, but I'm telling you, you have got a great group of people up there in Northeast Ohio. A lot of fun. I don't know what it is. Keep drinking the water. I don't know what it is.
Well, we got some great people in Louisiana too. So we have a couple of big plants in New Orleans, and I got to work down there for a couple of years. So it is a fun place to live and to work.
I think what you're saying is that pretty much everybody is a pretty cool place to be and hang out with people. That's what I like. Now I got the Folgers. What's the other location?
Well, it's actually three different Folgers plants in the New Orleans area.
Very good. All right, for the listeners out there, give us a little 411 on who Randy Day is and why you're such an incredible professional. Lay it on us.
Well, that's a tough one. So
outside of the fact we go to the same barber.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been fortunate. I joined up with a great company right out of college, really. And, you never really plan on that, but that's just the way it's worked out. So I joined with Smucker in 1988. My background's electrical engineering. Had a chance to live and work all over the country, work on a bunch of different kind of technical platforms. But most of all, it's just been a great time working with the people, right? And to see our company grow, to see our people grow. It's just been a blast. So I'm just one of those kind of lucky people that have had the chance to stay with one company their whole career. So it's pretty unusual these days.
It's interesting because everybody knows the slogans of Smuckers, and you have seen, as a 30-year vet, you've seen a lot of changes that have taken place within that organization.
Yeah, I have. And, despite all the change, the one thing that's remained constant is it still feels like a family-run company. It is a family-run company.
Wow.
Fifth generation. And, even though we're bigger, it still has that feel about it, which makes it cool, So we feel pretty lucky to be here.
You bring up a really interesting point. And in many of these conversations I've had with manufacturers, the culture is everything. It's just like it gets down to people and culture and nurturing that and respecting that. And that's great to hear about Smuckers because, with a name like Smuckers,
it has to be good. No, you're absolutely right. And, it's funny. All of our plants have their own sense of culture, but they all kind of ladder back up to people, family, and that family connection. And, that's what makes it cool.
That is. Gosh, I'm going, like I said, man, Northeast Ohio, bucket list, traveling up there, meeting the Smuckers family as well as you.
That would be great. Anytime you want to come up.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, that pandemic, the COVID, whatever we want to call it. How has Smuckers, as an organization, as a manufacturer, as really an impactful company within the United States and around the world, how have you, the company, dealt with that and pivoted and moved around?
It's interesting. You can have a pandemic playbook, which we actually did as part of our business continuity plan. But you realize you kind of quickly have to throw that out the window. None of us have ever been around for anything like this. Hopefully we don't have to experience it again. But, what I'm most proud of is the way our people in our manufacturing and our distribution plants have responded. Virtually with no notice. They were just thrown into it, right? And they've had to be at work every day. It's a whole U.S. food supply kind of flipped from a fair amount of eating away from home to eating at home, and we just had to respond. And our people knew it, and they stood up and did it. And it's been pretty amazing to watch. We've certainly benefited from some of our international suppliers that were operating in Asia, give us a little bit of a heads up of what was coming. So we implemented some of those things early, which really helped. And then obviously, just like with everyone else, we're learning as we go, but staying in tune with what the CDC is recommending and maybe trying to even stay a step ahead of that. I just can't thank our people enough because you can imagine it's the human condition, right? Everyone has daycare and childcare and schools and that. And yet, as a manufacturing, whether you're a first responder in healthcare or police or fire or a food manufacturer or a truck driver, you've got to go do the work. And they didn't have the luxury of waiting around for things to change. They had to get right after it. And so the way they were able to pivot and just get to work and keep the U.S. fed, it's pretty amazing. And their responsiveness, their resilience makes me proud to be a small part of it. But it's really all about that.
See, that's an interesting point. And we didn't know. And like you said, it's like one day everything's just rocking and rolling, and then somebody comes out and flips a switch, and it's a global deal, right? It's just like, okay, we're all shut down. You stay home. And how manufacturing, Smuckers in general, has adjusted to that. And because it's sort of interesting from me being a consumer of products, of course, I'd go to the store, and if it's not there, I'm not used to it not being there. We live in the United States, man. That thing needs to be there. Then you realize that supply chain and the impact and how it is going to take some time to sort of get back to where we were at.
No question.
It's been fascinating.
You're right. Well said. It's, I wouldn't say it's a fragile supply chain, but it makes you recognize every piece has to work. So from our suppliers through the transportation, obviously the manufacturing piece, which we really control and own, the distribution part of it, it all has to work in harmony. And any glitch, any node goes out, and we're out of stock, right? So we've been able to ramp our production up and meet the need. Now, we haven't met every need. We had to get smart about priority SKUs and priority items, because you just had to have that efficiencies running through our manufacturing plants to kind of meet the demand. We're starting to bring back some of that complexity now. But frankly, it's been a challenge, right, to meet all the needs that are out there. But by and large, our team have really, every single plant has stepped up, run record reliability, safety, quality. You just can't ask for more. So we feel pretty fortunate to be where we are right now.
Yeah, and I've had a number of conversations specifically around the sourcing, the supply chain, the logistics, all of those components. And like you said, you don't realize how fragile that can be and how finely tuned it is, because it's taken time to do that on when you receive certain things and get them out. And you just realize that there's some smart people out there, and they stepped up to the plate, because this was unique.
Yeah, well said. It is interesting to see, how on an individual basis it's impacted people, but collectively, I think every one of our plants, they have a story to tell around what's gone on in their communities, and how there's been hotspots around the country. You can't be immune from that. If you're operating in New Orleans, as you know, it was a hotspot for a while. But we're able to respond and manage that. I think we put in place some really great protocols early on, and tried to take care of our people with a hardship award right away to kind of give them a little bit of a cushion to work through daycare and other expenses that they were going to have. And and with or without that, they responded well, right? And so I really think it is a matter of culture, and people kind of coming together, which isn't something that always happens today, but it's happened for us, and we're pretty proud of it.
And see, what's interesting, you bring up a good point, and I really like it, is in times of real struggle like this, and we're still going to go through it, and it's still going to continue to sort of bite us in the tush here and there, and we're trying to really grapple with it. It brings out the best in people. It brings out a spirit of collaboration that probably wasn't there pre-virus. Now all of a sudden people are saying, I need you. I need your help. Would you be willing to help? And then people would say, yeah, I'll help you. And that other focus is so important. And we could talk about the challenges of COVID, no doubt, but there's some positive stuff that really has to be highlighted, and it always gets down to the people. It just does. People's desire to help.
Every single time. It comes down to those family stories, people sacrificing for each other, looking out for each other. One of the things that we have always had is a great safety culture. So for us, when we had to kind of implement these other protocols around, what we chose to say physical distancing versus social distancing, but whatever your terminology is.
Right.
But everyone has to be accountable for each other. You have to look out for your fellow team member, right? It's not just
right.
And that come pretty naturally to us. And we've been pretty successful with it, but you can never let your guard down. To your point, we're not out of this yet, far from it. And we've got some work left ahead of us. We've gotten some great learnings that are going to help us in the future get better. But as a society, as we open back up, there's going to be new risk coming at us, and we're going to have to manage it. But we think we're pretty well situated to do it.
God, see, I'm a big Smuckers fan now, just because of you. I love it.
Well, I don't know how many of our products you've had a chance to try, but a couple of the products have really been on fire, literally, right? So our Uncrustable peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a frozen pre-made sandwich. And, it's a simple concept, but it's executed with excellence, and we really can't make enough. Obviously, our Jif peanut butter is really It's been tough to keep up with demand there. And really, even our core Folgers coffee business, really strong. We really are in a great spot right now where consumers are coming back and trying our brands and realizing, they're pretty darn good. And they kind of, I think, maybe lost their way a little bit, but they're finding their way back. So it's good to see.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, before our conversation, I was trying to look for peanut butter and jelly, and I didn't have my and it's sugar-free Smuckers, delicious product, and your peanut butter. And I'm thinking, where the heck is it? I couldn't find it, so we're out.
Well, in spots, right? So we are adding back all those varieties. We had to keep focused on just core items. So we are just in the process of kind of getting our inventory back to where we'd like it to be. And so our goal was, our first quarter, which started May 1, it runs through August. We wanted to try to get back in stock, back to where we would like to be from a days on hand standpoint. I'm not sure we're going to make it. We're doing our best to work our way back there.
Yeah, and thank you. Because I'm cooking a pork roast and I put your preserves in that pork roast and it's delicious too.
It is.
There it is. All of a sudden now it's a cooking show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about that people side, right? Now you guys, I know you guys are active in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the community with Smuckers?
Yeah. So it's interesting. As I mentioned, each one of our sites, they have their own culture, they have their own sense of community, and they have things within their community they support, whether it's a little league team or it's a food shelter, it's whatever, right? So it's interesting. Each one of our sites have their own personality, and they have I would say, an audience that's relevant for them, for what's right for their business and for their plant. And so we also have, in our corporate office, we support really local community efforts everywhere we operate, but we really try to focus it on food, right? Children's education, those kind of things where we think we can make a difference in the communities.
Right.
So we try to stay in those venues where we feel like we can make a difference, and it kind of, is relevant for whatever's going on in that spot.
That's important, and because there are many that work for Smuckers. And they are all active, they live in the communities, and I can appreciate that. And I like how you stated how you stay sort of within an area that you can make an impact. You're not going to venture out into maybe something that would minimize that impact, and that's real important. Have you seen things changes as a result of sort of the COVID world we're living in right now?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, and again, every spot's a little different in terms of their ability to respond. But we have clearly, as you look at the unemployment numbers, there's a lot of people looking for work that were previously gainfully employed. So, our effort with local food banks has really made a difference. That's probably the biggest, I'll say, uptick in demand and need is just, obviously as the country slowly reopens, we hope it's vertical, but it's hard to say. It's probably going to take some time. And we're going to have to manage our way through it. And we're going to do our best to support those communities we're in while we're coming back.
Geez, Smuckers with a heart. That is fantastic. I love it. You can take that. You can just take it right to your marketing people.
That's a good one.
Smuckers with the heart. And you don't even have to give me credit for it. Okay, so let's talk. Let's continue to sort of pinpoint a little bit. Who is, let's say, your heroes of manufacturing? When you look through this and you're going through all of this and you see the chaos that has resulted, but then you pivot and you move and you're navigating through these waters, who do you want to just sit out there and say, I'm Randy and I want to thank fill in the blank?
I think that's a pretty easy one for me. So, our men and women in our manufacturing operations, our distribution centers that just every day have come in and flat out delivered for our consumers, our customers all over the country, all over North America, really supporting, propping up our food supply. I mean, they're the heroes. They're the unsung heroes that are just doing the work every day. It's been, so impressive to see their selflessness, their resilience. It's just an impressive group of people. And, they realized early on that their mission was going to be critical, and they had to deliver, and they did. Did not miss a beat. So it's been impressive to watch.
And then they touch. They're touching logistics. They're touching every component associated with bringing that product to market, and doing it with, and you can't jump into their heads, and they're dealing with their own COVID challenges at home with the kids
Absolutely.
and this, and yet they come in, they work safely, they understand their role, and you're absolutely spot on with unsung heroes. We don't see it. The only time we see it and complain about it is when I go to my local store and I can't find it, and then you got to realize something's going on right there, because that's atypical. That just doesn't make sense.
Right. And I would even take it back a step to our suppliers, our customers.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about right down to the grocery store, the retail clerk. They're also right at the front lines, literally doing this work. So it's a complete supply chain. It takes a total team effort. I think we've probably never been closer with our suppliers or our customers through this whole thing as we've been today. And I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to do so far.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're saying being close to our customers and suppliers. That's one, again, that whole silver lining, that positive side. It forced you to get closer. It forced you to talk to them and really talk to them in a way that makes sense, because they're just trying to survive. Everybody's just trying to survive. So I'm pinpoint focus on what is important, and I love that. And that's the way we should be.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's interesting. We had a number of innovation launches we were excited about to launch this summer. But after listening to our customers, they just said, we can't support it. We are trying to just kind of feed the country and keep our heads above water, literally.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of pushed it all off and said, let's focus on what your needs are. Let's get through this and we'll live to fight another day, right? So it's caused a lot of changes throughout the supply chain. And, we didn't really get into this, but as you would imagine, right, we had numerous capital projects going on. We had new item innovation. We had a lot of things in the pipeline. We really had to shut all that down and just get back to basics. What's it going to take to kind of keep the country running? And so we pivoted quickly back to basics, really. And you're kind of have brought that to my attention, that not everything that you used to be able to find at a grocery store is there. That's still the case. We're working our way back. But it's been challenging, right, to try to keep up with everything.
I didn't realize how important noodles were until you just start cooking spaghetti all the time. Like, no noodles. I got this squirrely curl noodles. That's the only noodles that's available. I'm using that one.
Yeah, exactly. We've all had to adapt.
Yeah. It was a real struggle for me there, Randy. It was just a struggle with curly kid. No, it's amazing, and we're getting back to it, and it's companies like yours and you and your people are seeing it and realizing it. And so now, really for the first time, the consumer, me and others, realize the importance of manufacturers in my life. Everything you look at, what we're doing here, it's been touched by human hands and manufactured. And that is a beautiful thing. And that should be celebrated. And that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, it is. It is about people that make things, the skills they have, the kind of the attitude they bring to work every day to just make it a little bit better. It's pretty cool to see. Yeah. We have a program, we call it Smucker Quality Management System within Smucker, where it's kind of our continuous improvement process. And it's really technician driven. They bring their ideas in. We try to bring them to life as efficiently as possible. But it has served us well for 120 years, and we are always amazed at, and not surprisingly, the best ideas come from the people that are closest to the work.
Yeah,
and that's really the heart of what makes the thing tick. Is what does it take to make your job better, your job easier? It's pretty cool to see it come to life, and
I love it.
To the extent that it takes a capital investment, or it takes some investment in frankly talent and energy to bring it to life. Those are the funnest projects, right? They're the funnest projects to work on and kind of collaboratively, walk away and say, at the end of the day, whatever we end up doing in the future, you can look back and say, I made that improvement. I made that product better. I made that plant better. That's what's cool about manufacturing. It's continuous improvement. You can always do it better. And it's just fun to be a part of it.
Who would ever thought that pre-making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches is a big deal?
Well, it's interesting. You would have to, if you have a chance, it would be a fascinating tour to get through one of our plants that kind of automates this. They're the largest kind of bakeries in the world. the way we kind of integrate that whole process from making fresh bread to assembling a sandwich to spiral freezing it quickly. And that's what makes it such a fresh, great experience for the consumer. It's not an easy. You'd think it would be easy. I can tell you that it's not.
It's not.
At the speeds we need to run. So it's a fascinating process. It really is. It's really cool to see.
And that's up in Ohio?
No, we have one in Kentucky. We have a brand new one we started in Longmont, Colorado that we just brought on board last year. And it actually won Food Manufacturing Plant of the Year. So it's a pretty cool accomplishment for our team to pull it off.
I got to ask the question, where would I find this product? Is it a freezer product? Where is it?
You can find it in any one of your grocery stores in the frozen section.
Section.
So you would find it typically in the frozen section of any major grocery store.
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to report back to you, and I'm going to sing the praises. You have been absolutely wonderful there, Randy. Let me ask you this one last question. Now, we've already talked about your LinkedIn skills. How can somebody get a hold of you?
A couple of ways. LinkedIn's probably the best.
Okay.
So it's randy.day@jmsmucker.com is my email address.
Yeah.
Direct. But you can find that all on LinkedIn, and that's probably the easiest way to connect.
Yeah, so when you go out there, listeners, Randy Day, pretty straightforward name, put a little comma, slap in Smuckers, you'll find him. He's got a great head of hair, just like I have a great head of hair. And I highly recommend you reach out to Mr. Randy. How are you? That's fantastic. How was that? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. That was great.
I loved it, man. Smuckers, company with the big heart right there, baby. All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. Do not go away. Do not go away. We're going to make sure that we might highlight all the stuff that we need with Mr. Randy. Take care, and thank you very much for joining. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Again, very honored. Thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk Podcast. A couple of points of note. Get back to basics. Business as usual going forward is just not going to be you just got to get back to basics. As per Randy Day, in this great conversation, we celebrate their distribution center. They're just doing the work every day. They're constantly focused on bringing product to market, soup to nuts, beginning to end. Thank you, J.M. Smuckers Company, and the people, the wonderful people there. We just celebrate you and thank you for what you are doing. Again, get involved. Jump on this train. You have to. Go to heroesofmanufacturing.com. That's heroesofmanufacturing.com and get involved. Nominate. If you're in manufacturing or you know of somebody in manufacturing that's just fantastic, well, they're all fantastic. Nominate. We'll have a conversation. Get them on the podcast. That's exactly what we want to do. And highlight their special heart and their contribution to helping us through this very challenging time. All of the contact information of Randy will be out at industrialtalk.com. Go to his landing page. And again, thank you. Thank you for joining, you industrial manufacturing professionals. You're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, you innovate. Thank you. And we'll be back with another incredible interview shortly.